Hello everybody. Today I'm going to start on the certification test, and let's start with all of the supplies that you will need to bring in order for you to get through the certification test correctly. First, you'll need to bring a screwdriver. These are 2 flathead screwdrivers, and both of these sizes are appropriate so that you may be able to change the pressure feet or change the needle on the sewing machine. Next, you will need to bring 3 items from your sewing machine kits, which are available at the bookstore. You will need to bring the bobbin case, and the tweezers. You will also need to bring a see-through ruler, which is available in the bookstore also. This is an 18 by 2 gridded ruler that you can use to make marks on your patterns. You will also need to bring a cone of thread. Again, this is available at the bookstore, and I recommend bringing a black one so that you'll be able to see your stitches correctly. You will need to bring a pencil. Make sure it's a number 2 pencil, which marks really nicely on your muslin. And lastly, you'll need to bring a yard of muslin. That is available at the bookstore. When you come to see me to get the certification, the first thing I will give you will be a requirement list of all of the exercises that you will need to do in order to fulfill the test. Remember, you do not need to do all of these at once. So if you do a sewing exercise correctly, I will sign you off on that. And if you don't have enough time to finish, you're able to come back and do some more of the test. So it does not need to be done all at once. The next thing I will give you is a series of 5 patterns that you will use in order to do your sewing exercises. The first is a curved exercise. The second set of patterns is for a corner sewing exercise. And the last pattern is for a straight line sewing exercise. The first step in the certification process is to prepare your fabric and lay out your pattern pieces. Take your muslin, press it off well, and lay your muslin down so that the selvage edge of your fabric, which is this tightly woven edge, is right up against your table edge. Also, make sure the cross part of your fabric is laying nicely perpendicular to your selvage edge, making sure that your fabric is nice and square. Next, lay out your pattern pieces, making sure that the grain lines of your pattern pieces are parallel to your selvage edge. Each pattern piece has a grain line that is well marked. Here you see your curved pattern pieces laid out. I have my square pattern pieces laid out. And lastly, I have my straight line pattern piece laid out with the grain line nicely parallel to the selvage edge. When you're done with that, I'd like to check your grain lines and your pattern pieces to make sure that they are laid out appropriately, and if they are, you can then proceed to trace your pattern pieces over onto your fabric with your pencil. As you can see, I have traced off my pattern pieces onto the muslin, slipped a little bit on that pattern and I had to readjust it, so I just crossed off the line and redrew my pattern piece. So all of these are now ready to be cut. And of course, in your supplies you should always have fabric shears. So make sure you bring your fabric shears, and make sure that you have a pair of scissors that is used for fabric and another pair that is used for paper. Do not use the same scissors for both. Your fabric shears will dull if you cut a piece of paper. Okay, you're ready to cut. After you've done cutting your pattern pieces, you should mark them. This is the marking for the corner pieces. 1/2 inch down from my edge, your 1/2 inch representing your seam allowance, and about 1 inch over from the corner, I've made a straight line, and I've done the same on this corner. You can also see that there is a dotted line here That is for clipping. You will see this done right before I start to do my sewing exercise for the corner piece. Taking a look at the curved sewing exercise pattern pieces, you can see that there are no marks. There are no marks allowed during the sewing part of this test. So there are no marks on the pattern pieces. The last pattern piece I'm going to show you how to mark is your straight line sewing exercise. What I've done is I've taken your pattern piece and I've folded the pattern piece in half along the lengthwise dimension, and I have pressed it well, giving myself a really nice crisp edge along the fold. At the top of the pattern piece, I will then give you the measurements that you're going to need to sew to execute the straight line sewing exercise. In order for me to show you this correctly, I'm actually going to do the markings first, and then I'm going to show you how the markings are done and how you will sew it. For the straight line exercise, after you've gotten done folding it in half and giving it a good press, you're going to go up to the top, and with the fold to the right hand side, the first measure you're going to put away from the fold is 1/16. That's really just pretty much right on the fold line, or just a couple of threads away from that. The next measurement you're going to do is 1/8. Now the 1/8 is 1/8 of an inch away from your 1/16. It is not 1/8 away from the fold of your fabric. The next measurement is 1/4. Again, 1/4 away from the 1/8 measurement. The next measurement is 3/8, 1/2, 5/8, 3/4, and 1 inch. Each one of these hash marks can be done at the top of your fabric. It can be done in the middle of your fabric. Again, the same size hash marks. And it can be placed at the bottom of your fabric. Again, the same size hash marks. When you're done marking this pattern, I will check it. If you're unsure of your measurements, please come over with your marks done, and I will double check to make sure all of your marks are correctly measured. You don't want to make a mistake when you start to sew and have these marks be in the wrong spot, then you won't be able to get a straight line. These are all of the marks that you can do for your test before you actually begin to sew. When you're ready to sew, I will guide you through setting up your machine, and we can get started. The next lessons will be on the actual sewing of the 3 exercises, and I will give you helpful hints to show you how those can be done. Thank you.